All right, battlers, today we're taking a look at Victreebel and the Timeless Cup. We're going to peek inside of some of the key strategies you can use when running Victreebel, a first-class Razor Leaf user. So in this first game, obviously we encounter an excellent lead. Victreebel is salivating. That Whiscash does bail out in favor of that Blossom, and I do decide to bring in Charizard. So Charizard is going to be an excellent hard counter for this Blossom here. We're actually going to be able to farm it all the way down because it is running Razor Leaf, and it's not going to get to any charge moves in time to fire them off against us. So in comes that Dragonair, and Charizard is so deadly in this cup. I'm actually working on a feature video for it, so hit that like button if you'd like to see that content. It will come out soon. So here we go with the Dragonair matchup. I'm actually able to get to one more Dragon Claw, and as you could tell from that first Dragon Claw, it almost took half of Dragonair's health. So extremely deadly. Charizard is great in this cup. In comes Sudowoodo, another one of my favorites. All three of these Pokemon in my line of three I'm going to do feature videos on, so stay tuned for those. Here comes that Whiscash, and we are able to fire off our Rock Slide here. Obviously, my objective is just get as much damage in on the Whiscash as possible. So when you run the Victreebel in the lead, I really want to make the point that you need to give it one shield regardless. So in we come against a Whiscash at the end. The only factor where we would have needed a shield is if that Whiscash got to the Blizzard, because we would have needed to protect our Victreebel. So again, here we win the lead against the Celio. In comes that Dusclops. Dusclops is a very interesting pick as well. I think a lot of trainers are running double elemental punches on it, so it's extremely dangerous. I've seen a lot of Ice Punch and a lot of Fire Punch. So here he goes with a Fire Punch against the Lapras. I do think this is the right move because Lapras is ice and water, so at least the Fire Punch is neutral. As you can tell from these battles though, even against Lapras, this Dusclops is so extremely bulky, extremely thick with two C's. We're going to fire off a Surf here against it, just trying to get this Dusclops off the battlefield. My opponent has retained both of his shields, so I do look for the swap there a couple of times, but I don't quite get there. I have a whole Skull Bash saved up worth of energy, so I don't want to lose that. I decided to bring in Sudowoodo, and in comes Dragonair. This is still not a terrible situation for Sudowoodo because I'm able to fire off these Rock Slides. We do take that first shield from the Dragonair, and I know this will be an Aqua Tail, and Sudowoodo can barely tank that. We are almost able to get to another Rock Slide, but we don't quite get there. So very precarious situation here. I do decide to bring in my Lapras, and I go straight for that Skull Bash, hoping he would lose track of how much energy I had, but he did not. He's actually going to shield that, but that buff allowed us to get two more Ice Shards off. In comes my Victreebel, and this is not a very good situation. He does fire off the return, and in comes that Celio with the Aurora Beam to finish us off. So Victreebel in the lead is not a great option, especially when you're facing against a dual water ice type like Celio. So here we go into round 3. I win the lead again in that Politoed matchup. So in comes that Dusclops, and I do fire off a few Razor Leafs just to work that health down a little bit. Razor Leaf is an excellent general move. You're going to find a lot of utility in this cup, and I really want to stress, you probably noticed in the last 3 battles I've won the lead. So these are battles that are cherry-picked for this video to really demonstrate its capabilities, but a lot of trainers are going to run water in their lead because they want to be able to soft counter that dragon. So Victreebel in a lead situation is actually extremely good in this cup. I'm really liking it so far. I wouldn't call it a safe lead, but with Charizard as the biggest threat, and that's only on a few small percentage of teams, I think it's really useful. So in comes that Politoed again, and I know Victreebel has a great matchup here as well. I'm going to wait down that switch timer a little bit longer, and then come in with those Razor Leafs, switching into this Dragonair matchup. And I know I've won this match already. I'm going to keep both of my shields for Victreebel because I know I can work this Dragonair down extremely low with my own Dragonair, and then I can come in with the Razor Leafs and mop things up. So here, Victreebel is a really, really great lead for me. 2 shields against a Politoed, and you know this is GG's. I do fire off the Acid Spray just to maybe work it down a little bit more quickly, and Jingles doesn't even shield that time because he knows this is over. So one more Razor Leaf will win us that game going into the next game. I do switch opponents quite often in this video. This is 6-7 Kevin. I do lead Charizard into Kingdra. Not a terrible matchup because you still have access to that Dragon Claw, but this is the second way that we can use Victreebel, and that's as a switch with an Acid Spray setup. So I do switch it into that Kingdra. It is part water type, so those Razor Leafs do great work, and then I fire off the Acid Spray here against the Blaziken. So essentially the premise of using Victreebel as your second Pokemon, as your swap-in, is that you can do a lot of neutral damage and then fire off that Acid Spray to set set up the next Pokemon behind it. So this Blaziken is very weak. This Dragon Breath just melts it all the way down. In comes the last Pokemon, which is that Celio. Celio is extremely dangerous. I kind of held onto my charge energy a little too long there, but I'm still luckily able to swap out into Charizard. So my goal is to land that Dragon Pulse at the end. I have to figure out a way to burn these shields though, so I can fire that off freely. I do go here for the Dragon Claw. I don't think I can get to a double Dragon Claw, but I wanted that shield regardless. He's going to spend his energy here, which is even better for me. Powder Snow doesn't do a lot of damage, so Celio really has to rely on those charge moves, and it cleared the path for my Dragon Pulse. So this will take down that Celio, and we win that game. GG's. Taking a look at another game with Victreebel as a safe swap, here we face off against the Mudboy, and my objective here, when you run into a Mudboy as your lead, you really want to work that thing down so that you can swap in your Victreebel so quickly that it just deletes it with the Razor Leafs. As you're going to see here, I do burn a shield on Dragonair. I'm not super familiar with this matchup, still learning, but in comes Victreebel, and look at that, trainers. Boom, Whiscash is gone. In comes that Kingdra, and we're actually able to fire off this Acid Spray as well. So even though we were at a health disadvantage, maybe however slight, we're able to work that Kingdra down so low that one more Razor Leaf would have brought it down. So that was a 2-for-1 swing in my opinion. Very, very good use of Victreebel. In comes that Charizard, and Charizard Haunter is just super tricky, trainers. We're gonna have to figure out a way to counter it because it is very deadly if you don't have a confusion user on your team. So Haunter and Charizard is going to square off. I love this Generation 1 matchup, but I bring in that Dragonair to kind of wrap things up. I fire off the Dragon Pulse, and that will win the game for us. Taking a look at the next game, we are swapping back into a match against Jangles. So in comes that Castiform, and again, we're going to try to use Victreebel here as a swap to try and delete that water type. So this Castiform, I had no idea. Look at this. Boom! Big Thunder lands. I had no clue. I swap into Victreebel. I had no idea Castform could learn that. In comes that Dragonair, and my objective here is to get to that Acid Spray. I'm not going to shield expecting the Aqua Tail, and it is. I think a return might have KO'd Victreebel there. It would have been very, very close. But we get to that Acid Spray setup, which is really, really good for us, and we get a shield, so it's even better. At this juncture, I decided to bring in my Sudowoodo. I know I can take one Aqua Tail, but this Dragonair is going to hurt us pretty badly with the Dragon Breaths regardless. So the counters are actually able to do enough damage to bring down that Dragonair thanks to that Acid Spray setup. So really, really nice. In comes that Water Castiform, and I actually swap into Lapras here. I really want to get off this Skull Bash, so I go for that against the Castiform. I know I can bring it down if I land it, and we do. Shields are down. In comes Celio, and trainers, this is a really, really awesome battle. I'm loving Sudowoodo, and that feature is coming, I promise. With all this awesome gameplay, it's going to be hard to live up to it, but because Lapras got that buff and that Powder Snow is so weak, we are actually able to force him to use energy, so really, really good for us. In comes Sudowoodo, and this Celio is formidable, but that Body Slam was not very effective. If we survive this, trainers, we might be able to pull out the win. We barely hang on. In comes the Rock Slide, and Sudowoodo MVP. Look at that. Boom, Celio done. Guys, I'm loving Timeless Cup so far. Going into our next opponent, I do that Victreebel lead, but this is a very interesting matchup because you're going to see Victreebel again very soon. That Milotic has to bail out. In comes that Muck. Kanto Muck is also very tricky. I'm planning on doing a feature on that in the near future. So I bring in my Dragonair, and I try to get this Muck off the field. I know he's trying to do an Acid Spray setup of his own, but I need to remove this Muck from the battlefield before it can debuff any more of my Pokemon. So Dragonair is barely able to pull that out. Again, excellent Pokemon in this cup in Dragonair. I think it will be on everybody's team, and I love it. It's one of my favorites. In comes Tangrowth, and things just got really sticky, trainers, because here we come with Lapras, and I know I have to give both of my shields to Lapras in order to win this matchup. This Tangrowth is a pure grass type, so the Ice Shards are going to do great work. He makes a swap into Milotic, and because Victreebel is a grass type, I'm expecting the Surf, and I actually survive it. And here we go. Even though we got Victreebel with the lead, I'm able to set up the Acid Spray as well, and it's just extremely clutch. Look at these Razor Leafs too, chunking away at that Tangrowth because the Vine Whip doesn't do that much damage. So awesome, excellent setup by Victreebel. In comes my Lapras, and I'm going to burn my last shield here. I was able to burn his last shield with the Surf. Ancient Power would have #wrecked our Lapras, but we get to one more Surf. Don't know if that was necessary. An Ice Shard probably would have done it, but either way, GG's Victreebel. Taking a look at our next game, I will lead Ice Fang Drapion into Relicanth. So again, I'm trying to swap into that Victreebel to erase this water type and maybe do an Acid Spray setup. If your opponent is slow on the switch, that Acid Spray setup can be extremely useful. So again, trainers, when you're facing off against Victreebels, make sure to really practice your switching, because if you don't, you will get deleted very quickly. I fire off the Sludge Bomb there, just trying to take that muck out of the game, but he does shield it. So again, I probably should have gone for Acid Spray there, but either way, I was trying to do the cheeky Sludge Bomb to get that muck off the field. In comes my Drapion, and he does Acid Spray us, which is not good. We have a debuffed Drapion facing off against this Relicanth. So Relicanth, I'm expecting the Ancient Power, but it's actually Aqua Tail, so we're able to survive. Drapion's going to go for the crunches here. Now our defense is debuffed, but our attack is not, so we are unable to get to another crunch, and my last Pokemon is going to be Swampert. Trainers, Swampert is an awesome starter Pokemon as well. I don't think I'll build my team around it, but it's really great. Look at this. In comes Tangrowth, and I got something for you, Tangrowth. Check out the Sludge Wave. Erasing Tangrowth. In comes that Relicanth, and Swampert is going to flex hard in this battle, trainers. Here comes the Aqua Tail, and then I fire off the Hydro Cannon to bring down the Relicanth. So really, really awesome Swampert play. Again, trainers, a great Pokemon to use. Going to the last game, I want to show you this as well. So this is Victreebel in the lead, but I'm actually going to use it as a shieldless fast move closer. So what I mean by that is I'm going to bring it in at the end, and I'm not even going to burn my opponent's shields. I'm just going to Razor Leaf them to death. So in comes that Kingdra, and I luckily get to the Outrage. Outrage is going to nuke this Celio if it doesn't shield, so he does. Celio is going to bring us down with the Powder Snows. Kingdra is part dragon, part water, so the Powder Snows do just enough to bring it down. I bring in my Charizard here, recognizing that my Victreebel is my greatest asset for my team, so I'm comfortable bringing in the Charizard. I fire off a Blast Burn here, and we get really lucky, trainers. We actually land the Blast Burn on that Water Castiform. Now he's got double water types, so all I need to do is give my Vic a shield, and I will be able to win this matchup. I do Acid Spray this Celio here, and again, this is the danger, battlers, of running a double water on your team against a Razor Leaf user. You can really get shredded. So awesome gameplay. Victreebel is really, really good in this cup. I highly recommend you check it out, battlers. If you enjoyed this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you're thinking about using Victreebel or another Razor Leaf user in your team of 6, leave that Pokemon's name in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one.